some cases, we were able to, by getting manifests from other airlines, we were able to help the families and show them that their family members were not on this flight. But in most cases, the names do appear on the manifest, and we have personnel from the police department, the fire department, EMS, trying to help the families, particularly this morning when they may have to go out to Suffolk County to identify the bodies. We also have a lot of New York City Police Department personnel out at the scene, about 40 divers, emergency operations that are going on in Suffolk County.
Do you know if this flight recorder, is it maybe too early, but it's been recovered yet or any of that?
I don't know. I think that last night it was very difficult because it was a very dark night. So the efforts last night were extremely difficult. It should get easier now that we have sunlight.
Of course, even though this area is not technically within the bounds of New York City, nevertheless, you did provide, well, as you just mentioned, all of these police divers and other equipment and stuff, so that's obviously very helpful.
And we brought all of our trauma teams out here to the airport because we knew there would be a lot of family members that would be here, and they've been very helpful. We have chaplains for both the police department and the fire department here, the community assistance unit, and there are a lot of people from TWA, their personnel that are helping. Unfortunately, the upper management of TWA has been non-existent. We've been trying all night, the police commissioner, the executive director, George Marlin of the Port Authority, and I, to get them to verify the manifest list, and they've just refused to do it. And the person in charge, a fellow named Kelly, decided to go home because he needed a little sleep. Meanwhile, the families are left in some doubt about what's going on. I've talked to the CEO of the Port Authority and, of TWA, and so far they still haven't rectified the situation. It's really horrendous the way they're treating the families.
You mean, am I hearing this right, that you can't get an accurate account?
Yeah, it's about 7-8 hours. We can't get an accurate count. They won't check the tickets against the manifest list. Other airlines have done it for us, and we've been able to find a few people that actually went on other airlines. But TWA's treatment at the very top now, not the personnel. A lot of the personnel are here. They stayed here all night. They actually came in on their day off to help the families here. But the person in charge, a fellow named Kelly, basically just walked out on these families, decided it wasn't important enough to spend the time to go through a verification of the names on the manifest.
Is that, Mr. Mayor, is that Mike Kelly, the fellow?
Yes, I believe that's the person. Nor would he return the police commissioner's calls, my calls, or George Marlin's calls.
Well, I was curious myself why at 8 hours later we were hearing reports that the manifest, in fact, wouldn't be released until still later today.
Because the upper management of TWA is unfortunately callous, has no regard at all for these families, and it really is an outrage.
I'll be darned.
It could be done in like 20 minutes. We got the list, and we've done the best kind of verification we could do. We actually got more cooperation from other airlines. We've looked at the list of people who went on other airlines to Paris, so we're pretty certain that we now have an accurate list. But the police commissioner and I and the Port Authority personnel, who have been terrific, by the way, the Port Authority has been terrific, and the difference is that George Marlin, who's in charge of the Port Authority, stayed here all night, stayed up all night, and Mr. Kelly took off somewhere.
We're talking with the mayor of New York City, Rudolph Giuliani. I'll let you go, Mr. Mayor. I know you're very busy. Just one question. Do you? There's wild speculation that this is some terrorist act. Do you have any information about any of that?
I think we shouldn't speculate yet.
No.
The FBI and the Joint Terrorism Task Force that includes the police department are investigating this, and we should let them develop these facts and not speculate, at least not at this point.
And so you have no information of any kind?
I didn't say that. What I said was we shouldn't speculate.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good work, and hang in there.
Thank you.
Rudolph Giuliani, the mayor of New York City, here on the Imus in the Morning program. Well, that's two fascinating comments out of that conversation. One, the lack of cooperation from these folks at TWA.
And senior management.
Which, by the way, is an awful airline. Remember my complaints about this?
Well, now, wait a minute.
Well, I don't like them.
Because they didn't kiss up sufficiently to the eye.
No, they don't have to kiss up to me, but I mean, I just didn't like that. I didn't like their attitude. Anyway, but this is hideous. You can't have these families out there at the airport wondering what the hell's going on.
Absolutely.
You can't do that to people.
Absolutely not. You see, that's reprehensible.
And then the other comment was that when I asked him about the wild speculation of a terrorist act, and he said, as you just heard, we didn't want to get into that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, so then you have no information about that. And then he said, well, I didn't say that.
Yeah. But he has nothing that he wishes to speculate about.
I like him. See, we talked with Mayor Ed Koch yesterday, and he and Ed Koch are having, I don't know, just between them, and they apparently have some feud going on.
Yeah, it's a personal thing.
But as I told Mayor Koch, I like Rudolph Giuliani, and the Mayor Koch accused me of being a Giuliani lackey, part of the inner circle.
I think that's
But I'm not part of his inner circle at all. I just, I felt it would be less than candid if I didn't tell Mayor Koch that I didn't like him. But I mean, and I guess the Mayor Koch admits, as does everyone else, that he does a marvelous job running the city.
That's right. Their little falling out was on a personal basis. Exactly.
Personal deal. I don't know if that's all about it. It is 12 minutes past the hour. There are, of course, other news, but none of really any significance. Harold Evans over at Random House yesterday introduced the author of this dreadful book, Primary Colors, and I like Joe Klein, and he's been on this program a few times, and he's a fine writer for Newsweek magazine.
Fine columnist, certainly.
And a consultant, such as it is, to CBS News. But this book was just, it was just dreadful. It was okay.
No, it wasn't. It was dreadful.
A Romana Clay, a thinly veiled account of the '92 campaign involving the Clintons, and became hugely successful, sort of because of that, but primarily because of this speculation as to who actually wrote it.
That's right.
And the Washington Post got a hold of some handwriting from the original manuscript and some of Mr. Klein's handwriting, and synced them up and revealed yesterday that Mr. Klein wrote it, and then he fessed up in a dopey news conference yesterday, and says that he hopes to write more novels under the pseudonym Anonymous. And I would just say this to Mr. Klein: do not quit your job at Newsweek to do this.
And we can understand why you want to write them under the pseudonym Anonymous.
Anyway, a tragic morning in New York and across this country. And we just spoke with Mike Breen, who is a sports reporter on the Imus in the Morning program, and he is covering women's basketball for NBC and the Olympics, and a fairly tense situation there with the media in Atlanta, and I would imagine with the athletes as well.
Sure.
We'll talk with Senator Chris Dodd, and a little later this morning, perhaps, Mary Matlin. We were scheduled to speak with Tom Brokaw, but for some reason Mr. Brokaw is unable to appear, and he may have other...
Oh, yeah.
I imagine he has duties with the Today Show.
Legitimate.
And with MSNBC.
Mm-hmm.
But in light of this deal I just made yesterday with MSNBC to allow them to simulcast this program beginning September 3rd on MSNBC every morning from 6 to 9 Eastern Time, I would expect a higher level of cooperation, but having said that, I do understand. Okay. It's a quarter after the hour.
Imus in the morning.
The Johnsons just got new Microsoft Home Essentials. It includes Microsoft home PCs like Word, Money, Bookshelf, and Internet Explorer.
This will be the 7th Olympics that he's at.
Honey,
he wants to know if you are interested in talking to him.
Can we track
Be good.
Where is he?
He's home.
Yeah.
Bobby, you're after me.
7:30?
Putting your soccer team schedule in Microsoft Works.
And I'm after him.
Who are you?
I'm the lawn guy. I need Microsoft Bookshelf to reference types of grass. Grab grass, goose grass, and after I'm done, the pizza guy needs Microsoft.
Well, I just threw out a name. I mean, I don't know if the I'm in wants to.
Oh, okay.
This is a name. I bet if you guys are looking for names,
New
that's a name.
Microsoft Home Essentials.
So ask him.
Something for the whole family. And everyone else, too.
Honey, the mailman's exploring the Louvre website.
But he could address,
Check out the mummies.
the safety record of that
New
aircraft.
Microsoft Home Essentials with Word, Works, Money, Bookshelf, and Internet Explorer. You can upgrade for around $109 until September 30th. Some restrictions apply. See your reseller for details.
Hey!
I'm not sure if you became an altar boy first or you had a cup of coffee first.
It's amazing how many New York stories involve a cup of coffee. The Maxwell House Coffee Company asked New Yorker Robert Walsh about his most memorable cup.
I'm the fifth of 7. I have 2 older brothers. I have 2 older sisters. There are certain times where you rode your bike around the block for the first time, where you became an altar boy, where you joined Little League, and when you drank coffee. I can't put the specific on that date, but there was a time where coffee was then allowed. It was a rite of passage. It probably was my dad, on a Saturday morning dipping an Italian cookie. That was my mother's selection for those cookies into his cup of coffee and looking over and probably saying, it's time. We didn't have the discussions about the birds and the bees. We had the discussion whether it was time to have a cup of coffee or not.
As long as families gather around kitchen tables, Maxwell House will always be good to the last drop.
Michael York doesn't sell ice cream, but when his truck rolls down Elm Street, children are glad to see it. Michael drives a PSE&G truck with a child watch symbol on it. No bells, no whistles, just a child watch symbol that tells kids if they're ever in trouble, they can go to a PSE&G truck for assistance. Our crews are in contact with a dispatcher who can call the police, firemen, or an ambulance right away. Child Watch is led by PSE&G employees like Michael York, a foreman and father of two, who are committed to serving even the tiniest customers. That kind of commitment is why we can offer 9 written guarantees that say we'll perform or we'll pay our residential customers $25 and business customers $100. With employees like Michael York, we know we'll come through. Even if we don't have bells on our trucks. PSE&G, the power of commitment, guaranteed.
Nothing's as hot this summer as Bell Atlantic 9X Mobile's great deal of 20 to 200 local minutes free for 3 whole months. That's what you'll get when you sign up on select minute-included price plans now. If your plan comes with 20 minutes, get 40. 40 minutes gets you 80. Up to 200 free minutes. Want more? Get Talk Along Plus for as low as $19.99 monthly access. Save $5 every month. And get the largest local calling area in New York and New Jersey, so you can use your free minutes to call from Cape May to Montauk. And how about a Bell Atlantic 9X Mobile Beach Bag filled with all kinds of great summer stuff? It's free too with a new annual activation. So don't miss our hot summer deal. Call 1-800-255-BELL. That's 1-800-255-BELL. Or come into any of our 31 Bell Atlantic 9X Mobile communication stores. Nothing's as hot this summer. New annual activation required. Early termination fee 5 cents per minute. Landline, airtime, other charges, and certain restrictions apply. While supplies last. Offer ends August 12th.
Good morning. I'm Eileen Marchese coming for the Bell Atlantic 9X Mobile Fan Highway Patrol. We do have better news on the Connecticut Turnpike. Northbound, all lanes reopened into exit 26 in Bridgeport. A 2-tractor trailer accident cleared, and the southbound side just slow with residual delays through Bridgeport and your usual volume right down through Fairfield. The Merritt Parkway is your best bet. Southbound Major Deegan jammed into the area of the Yankee Stadium, and it is completely packed for several miles with another 2-tractor trailer accident left and center lanes right in front of the stadium. And northbound side of the Garden State Parkway, we have an overturned vehicle on the ramp to exit 138 in Kenilworth. Street cleaning rules are in effect today. 75 degrees and clear, a mix of sun and clouds, hazy, hot, and humid, high around 90 degrees. And if you've been injured or involved in an accident, call Coppola and Associates. They'll fight for the most money and the fair play you deserve at 1-800-FAIR-PLAY. I'm Eileen Marchese Cohen for the Bell Atlantic 9X Mobile Fan Highway Patrol.
Imus in the Morning 2020 Sports rolls on.
This is Warner Wolf for Imus in the Morning Sports. This Imus in the Morning Sports report brought to you by Maxwell House Coffee, the official coffee of the Imus in the Morning program. Is there no limit? The word is the Lakers will offer Shaquille O'Neal up to $140 million over 7 years. That's an average of $20 million per year, or $244,000 per game, or $5,000 per minute, or $85 a second. The Lakers supposedly have offered O'Neal $117 million, but will push the offer up to $140 million by renouncing the rights to Eldon Campbell. That ought to make Campbell feel wanted. Upon hearing the offer, O'Neal said, "This is not about money." Orlando did re-sign Horace Grant for 5 years, an average of only $10 million per year. And just for the record, 23-year-old Juwan Howard became the first $100 million man signing with the Heat for 7 years.
How do they pay these people?
Well, television rights.
Oh, okay.
Plus all of the shirts and hats.
Okay.
That goes into the pot.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
All right.
Baseball, the Red Sox, after blowing a 9-2 lead in the 7th, scored 3 in the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs and beat the Yanks 12-11. John Wetland blew his first save in 25 attempts. after Yankee manager Joe Torre purposely put the winning run on base with an intentional walk. Troy O'Leary tied the game with a 2-run double, and Jeff Fry then singled in the winning run. Here's Yankee play-by-play man John Sterling.
Pitch is hit on the ground, base hit right field, and Boston wins. So the Red Sox complete an amazing comeback after the Yankees had an amazing comeback, and the Red Sox win the game 12-11 on the base hit by Fry.
In Baltimore, the Orioles scored 2 in the bottom of the ninth, beat the Jays 11-10. Bobby Bonilla, who leads the league in sacrifice fly, hit another one to win the game. In the National League, the hottest team in baseball, the Rockies made it 8 in a row, moved into first place, beat the Giants 4-3. Here's Giants' Barry Bonds on being swept by the Rockies.
They're a good ball club, but I feel bad. It ain't supposed to get swept by this team out here. I don't give a who they got on their team. That's crazy.
Bonds speaking very highly of the Rockies. Early first-round British Open of Royal Lytham in St. Anne's, the west coast of England, is underway. Bobby Jones is the only American ever to win the Open here. Marge Schott has done it again for passing out a memo last week telling her employees that she will remain involved in the front office. Baseball has banned Schott from her Riverfront Stadium offices, her luxury box, and the field. And talk about trying to be low-key. Deion Sanders has turned up at the Cowboys training camp in a $30,000 black Mercedes golf cart.
Jeez.
The cart has air conditioning, stereo speakers, and running water.
Oh, God.
For Imus in the Morning Sports, this is Warner Wolf.
Our guy, Warner Wolf. Thank you very much, Warner. It is 23 after the hour here on the Imus Morning program, and we are on C-SPAN 1 this morning. And we were having a discussion at 5 o'clock this morning back in my office. My tastefully decorated office, by the way.
Ann Mullen.
From Ann Mullen Interiors. Yeah. And we had a great show planned this morning. And but it's obvious, at least to me, that should be hideously inappropriate, particularly this program.
Sure.
So we're doing the very best we can to cover this with the limited resources that we have. Being part of the Westwood One radio network, and now my nascent association with MSNBC, which has proved, at least this morning, not to be that productive. And so I'm not apologizing for the program at all this morning, but I just thought it would be fair to tell you that. And we had a discussion with C-SPAN early this morning about whether to do this at all, and I recommended that they not do it, and they said that they wanted to because they didn't. One, had no other programming.
You got 4 hours to fill here for crying out loud.
And two, wanted to at least cover what we were going to do.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was fair with them.
Carol Zimmer is home.
It is 24 after the hour, and here now she's from NBC News.
Yes, she is.
From NBC News, covering all of this, Carol Zimmer. Good morning, Miss Zimmer.
Good morning, Mr. Imus.
Tell me what you know.
Well, according to Congressman Michael Forbes, he says 65 bodies have been recovered. They are being tagged. They're going to be autopsied because officials feel that if it was a bomb or some foul play, that there would be traces of chemicals in the bodies of the victims.
And any evidence of that yet, or was it too soon to know?
No evidence of that yet. We're waiting for National Transportation Safety Board officials to arrive here, but the only thing we know is what eyewitnesses said about the crash, and that was that they saw this huge fireball. Officials say it was an explosion, but they don't know what caused it.
Where are you right now?
I am actually at the Coast Guard station, and I am at the beach. It's a beautiful day, and it's very ironic that we're here for this really strange and horrible reason.
Where are they taking the material that they have recovered to where you are? Or?
Yes, they're taking. There's a makeshift morgue at the Coast Guard station. The crash happened between 9 and 10 miles off the coast, and we are right on the coast in East Moriches. So they have the makeshift morgue at the Coast Guard station. They're recovering the debris. They're asking people not to touch anything that they may find, boaters who may be in the area, because they're treating this as a crime scene, even though nobody knows if it was a crime yet. But all of this debris could be evidence.
And there are no survivors?
There are no survivors. Officials, they say, well, there's always hope that somebody survived, but the fact of the matter is that after 12 hours in 61-degree water, there is zero probability of survival. So there are no survivors.
I'm talking with Carol Zimmer of NBC News, and you're listening to the Imus in the Morning program across the country. We're also on C-SPAN 1 this morning. I spoke with the mayor of New York City, Rudolph Giuliani, just a few minutes ago. He said he gave us some startling information, and that was essentially that he, the police commissioner, and others were getting zero cooperation from the top management people at TWA, even a lack of cooperation in getting TWA to reveal who was on the plane. Do you know anything about that?
No, I heard he was at Kennedy Airport saying that, and we heard he said that. I don't really know anything about it. I know that the survivors were supposed to go to the airport, and they were supposed to be dealt with, not the survivors, but the family and the relatives and the friends of the people on the plane were supposed to go to the airport, to the Ramada Inn, and they were going to be dealt with there. But I know nothing about what the TWA folks are doing.
And then I also asked the mayor, because as you obviously know, there's wild speculation throughout the country and all media that this was a terrorist act, and the mayor cautioned us wisely, and I would imagine everyone else, not to speculate on that. And I asked him, then did that mean that there was no evidence of that? And he said he didn't say that. So do you have any information about any of that?
No, they've been telling us they don't know. They have no indication that it was a terrorist bomb. They say there were no explosives on board, so that makes it a little bit more problematical as to what might have caused this explosion. But that no one is saying, there's a lot of speculation. The plane was sitting on the ground here for 3 hours. It had come from Athens. Athens does not have the tightest security around, so there's been all kinds of speculation that if there was a bomb, maybe it got on the plane in Athens. But we have no information, no solid information that this was a terrorist act.
Is it a madhouse in the water out there? I mean, are there more boats than necessary and more people than necessary? What is that all? How's that seen?
Well, they've got many Coast Guard boats, 40 boats in the area. They're asking boaters, pleasure boaters, to stay away, even though they've been trying to be helpful, because they don't want people. They're telling them, don't pick up any pieces, don't pick up anything in the water, because this is all evidence. And even though you want to be helpful, just don't touch it.
Ms. Zimmer, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Carol Zimmer from NBC News here on the Imus in the Morning program. Is coming up on 29 after the hour.
Imus in the morning.
Enter the Columbia and TriStar Pictures Follow the Stars of Hollywood sweepstakes. Find out about the summer's hottest movies and have a chance to win a VIP fantasy trip to Hollywood. Call 1-888-ENTER-LA. That's 1-888-368-3752. And correctly answer the movie question of the week. Or get details about rules and how to enter.
Do you want this eyewitness guy that's up on line 6?
U.S. residents 18 and older.
Well, is it legitimate?
Yeah, it's legitimate. AP went with it. They used them, and we tracked them down. Jane did.
Do you have trouble sleeping
Okay.
through the night? Here's news from Sunspot.
I'll take him. Put him on hold, please.
Bodies produce melatonin naturally, which helps us sleep soundly.
But as we age, we produce less and sleep less. So how do we get the sleep we need? Melatonins, the finest pure melatonin. Melatonin provides melatonin the way the body does, gradually.
Melatonin.
For a good night's sleep all night.
Make sure it ends with an X.
Time-release Melatonex. Sleep better, feel better.
At food and drug stores, use it right now.
Hey, Ashley, give me some more coffee, would you please? If you're into health and nutrition, here's a word you ought to know about. Twin Lab. It's the name of one of the world's leading vitamin, mineral, and nutritional companies. Well, I think it is the leading vitamin company. I mean, it's a great company. It's a great company no matter what they make. They make the best vitamins in the world. They even have a new all vegetable-based kosher vitamin. Some little pills and little beanies on them.
Fine.
Twin Lab has been around for over 25 years, making the finest supplements money can buy. Twin Lab makes over 300 great products, including all the major vitamins and minerals, multivitamins for adults and Them kids there in the house. Largest selection of antioxidants and a full line of sports and fitness supplements as well. And most important, Twin Lab has always been on the cutting edge of nutrition. For example, Twin Lab introduced the first all-capsule vitamin and mineral line for folks with food allergies. That's a pretty good deal, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Let's have a catalog y'all can check out. 1-800-471-7707. Twin Lab. It is a word for good health. If you're looking for roominess and power in a sport utility vehicle, you might want to check out your Tri-State quality Ford dealer for a Ford Explorer. Got that new V8 engine, more power than most sport utilities. Take a look at all the room inside. No other best-selling compact sport utility has more total interior room, plus safety features like dual airbags, standard side door intrusion beams, and four-wheel anti-lock brakes. That's why it's so popular with families. Explorer even offers... Is this record stuck? Oh, okay. Explorer even offers on-demand control track four-wheel drive that allows you to choose between 3 drive settings to correspond with road conditions. It sounds like the Blues, the I-Man, doesn't it?
I think it is the Blues, I-Man.
And right now you can get a great lease from your Tri-State quality Ford dealer on a loaded Explorer. Sounds great, doesn't it? Okay? So you folks go see your Tri-State quality Ford dealer. Well, Fujifilm is the official film of the Imus Morning program, and I started running it through both my Nikon cameras and my Hasselblad, and I've been shooting at a stop below what it's rated at and developing it normally. And it's gorgeous looking film.
All right.
So Fujifilm also has this new advanced photo system that makes taking any picture easy and fun. You can pick from 3 different print sizes. There's a classic shape 4x6 picture and a new wider 4x7 shape for when you want to squeeze in both the president and the first lady. You only get Fujifilm's great color and sharpness when you shoot with Fuji's technologically advanced smart film, the official film of the Imus Morning program. You know who's a very attractive young woman? Chelsea. Have you seen her lately?
Yes, I have. She is growing up very lovely. Absolutely.
She's a cute kid, isn't
yes,
she?
she is.
I like her.
Yeah.
They've done a good job keeping her out of
really have.
Brutalized by everybody except Rush.
Sheltering her, yeah.
Anyway, Fujifilm, the official film of the Imus Morning program, available at Nobody Beats the Wiz.
It's the grand spectacle that captivates an entire world. The Olympic Games. Friday night on NBC. The moment we've all been waiting for arrives as the youth of the world, over 10,000 strong from all corners of the globe.
You know who else was in here yesterday? Was Larry Kinney brought his daughter in, Ashley.
I saw her.
And overnight, you know,
Mike Lupica's holding as well as Michael Connor.
They just turn into these.
Yep.
Hey there.
Hi. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Nightmare.
Oh.
It's a countrywide home loan.
You hungry?
You received a rate that was
You hungry?
and our exclusive rate guarantee
Speaking of that,
rate go up and can even go down.
I don't know.
So the home you choose today.
Might have some orange juice and toast.
Equal housing lender. Some restrictions apply.
Hi, I'm Imus in the morning. It is 26 minutes till the hour, and we are live in New York City on Westwood 1. The facilities of Infinity Broadcasting. We're also on C-SPAN 1 this morning. And Michael Connor, who lives out on the island, apparently was an eyewitness to all of this, and he's on the phone now. Good morning, Mr. O'Connor.
Good morning, Imus.
Where exactly do you live?
I don't live on Long Island. I live on the shoreline of Connecticut, probably about 40 miles east of where you live in Southport, about 15 miles east of New Haven. I was at a local town beach. It's called the Madison Surf Club, and I saw the eruption in the sky. I didn't know what it was at first. Like, originally, I thought it might be a distress flare, but I've seen distress flares before. It wasn't that. So I called my communications center to notify them.
So you actually saw the thing blow up, but you didn't realize it was an airplane?
I had no idea what it was at the time. I knew it was something unusual. If anything, I'm probably 45 to 55 miles from where it happened, and if anything, the distance at which I saw it gives an indication of how powerful it was.
I actually live in Manhattan, Mike, but we do have a house up there in Southport, which is on the water. And I was up there yesterday to take my cat up there because...
Collins?
Yeah, because Collins has to stay there with the housekeeper because...
we don't want to hear anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Deirdre and I are going out to...
Fine.
Sedona, Arizona.
Originally, again, my first indication, I'm a police officer. I'm a patrol sergeant in the town police force here. In fact, you were here last year on a book signing at R.J. Julia.
Were you part of my security detail?
No, I wasn't working that day. Sergeant Bob Stimson was running security that day. But originally, again, I thought it was some sort of pyrotechnic, but I could see the north shore of Long Island. I could just see the lights coming on. It was right around dusk. And based on that perspective, I knew it wasn't in Long Island Sound. And then my next thought was, well, if it's out over Long Island somewhere, it must be, whatever it was, must be real big. There were brush fires on the south shore of Long Island last year, and we could see the glow from them at nighttime. And this was, while it wasn't all across the horizon like something like that, I knew it had to be something very unusual. The thought of a plane exploding did cross my mind, but you never think that a tragedy like that, you actually witness it. No. I've never seen an aircraft explode before, and I hope never to have to again.
Well, Officer Connor, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Michael Connor, who is a police officer here in the Hours Winning program, saw what he later learned was this TWA Flight 800 blowing up. So.
The moment of catastrophe, yes.
It is 23 minutes till the hour here on the Imus Winning program. Mike Lupica is a nationally syndicated sports columnist who writes in Esquire and appears on, well, he'll appear on anything. He's on ESPN, but he's covered 7 Olympics.
Yeah.
That would include like summer and winter, right, Mike?
Yes.
So we wouldn't be going back like 7, because you're not that old, right?
No, the first one I ever attended was the one at Lake Placid in 1980.
Oh, okay. So, and you're not the best flyer in the world, look, having known you for 15 years. So.
No, my idea of a long trip, hopefully someday, will be going to the convenience store to pick up another big jug of Coke to watch a sports event on television.
So, have you talked to anybody at the Olympic Village or from any of the media there?
No, but this is anytime something like this happens, especially close to the Olympics, obviously your first thought, and again, it's just speculation at this point, is that somebody has taken the Olympics and used it as the main event, as a world stage to make some kind of cockeyed statement. But that's the Olympics that nobody ever talks about or wants to think about and hopes never happen. When this happened last night, I went back and looked at some of the coverage of past Olympics, and I wrote a column at the opening ceremonies at Seoul in 1988, and the first sentence was, if you're not an athlete around here, you're a suspect, and talked about how the way where I was sitting in the stadium at Seoul, you saw more eyes watching you than were watching the opening ceremonies, and that there was a whole army there of spectators watching the spectators. And this goes on at every single Olympics, and it'll go on in great force at this one. And again, it's the Black Sunday mentality that somebody will use the biggest sports event in the world as the main event.
Of course, we don't have any evidence yet that that's the case, but there certainly is, well, as you just articulated, there certainly is that sort of speculation going on. We talked with Mike Breen, who works on this program, as you know, and is covering women's basketball for NBC and is there. And, boy, he sounded shaken, frankly. So.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. I was remembering in Barcelona, Don, you go through checkpoint upon checkpoint just to get into the media village, to get into any what you think is innocent place. I mean, there's metal detectors and all that stuff, and even if you're credentialed, they search your bag when you go into the track and field stadium. And that's why the other night I'm watching one of these Olympic preview shows, and if you remember in Barcelona, the touching scene of Derek Redmond, the English runner, pulling his hamstring, and his father coming out of the stands. Now, I'm sitting in the stadium that day. I've gone through 72 checkpoints to get into that stadium. I've been searched 42 times, and now this kid pulls a hamstring in the middle of the Olympics down on the track and field, oval. And here comes his father walking out of the top of the stands. He walks by 37,000 security guys and walks out onto the oval and puts his arm around his son's shoulder. I'm thinking, yeah, the security's working fine here today.
Well, I remember actually watching that, or maybe I didn't see it live, but I certainly did see replays of it. It must have been some suspicion. Well, I don't know. I guess your point's well made.
And if you remember, the father had more graffiti on him than Dennis Rodman, Nike hats and Reebok hats. And then afterwards,
looked like Dale Earnhardt's car.
Yeah, and I turned to a friend of mine and I said, did you see how far that guy came to get on the oval? And they said, well, it looked like security tried to stop him. And I said, well, there's good news.
Do you plan to still go to this?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's going to go on, but again, this is anybody who's in Atlanta. You could hear it in Mike's voice today, and we don't know if there's any connection at all. But if you do this and you have been to the Olympics, it's the first thing you think about whenever something like this happens, especially when it happens this close to the Olympic Games.
Well, I talked to the mayor of New York City, Rudolph Giuliani, here just a few minutes ago, and I thought it was. I mean, I thought it was interesting that, I broached the subject of this speculation as we've talked about terrorism, and he cautioned me about that appropriately. And then when I asked him specifically that any evidence that, he said, well, I said, does that mean you don't have any evidence? And he said he didn't say that. So, I mean, I guess you could infer from that, or at least I could, that this is probably going to, but it's probably going to lead to this being some sort of bomb. But nobody's, do you know if anybody's taken any responsibility for this yet? We don't have any information, do we?
No, I mean, I went out and got the papers about 6 o'clock. I turned on your show, and I thought maybe somehow it had been advanced in some way in regards to that in the last hours since we'd all been sleeping. But no, I don't think anybody has come forward and said anything. And again, let's hope. I mean, it's an odd hope to have that it isn't. But you can't prevent all of us from thinking that when a plane explodes in the sky this way, that somebody blew it up.
On another note, which I find interesting, in that yesterday NBC announced that this association with the Imus in the Morning program and MSNBC, and we have gotten about as much cooperation from NBC in our attempt to cover this for this program. Well, I think it's safe to say about 12 to 15 million listeners, as apparently the families of the people who were killed in this crash are getting from the upper management of TWA, at least according to the mayor, in that they can't get any top management people from TWA to even reveal who was on the plane. Mr. Brokaw, who was scheduled to be on this morning, was unable to appear. And your little friend, Bob Costas, who we were actually going to acquiesce, and we had banned the little shrimp for years from this program.
I consider him an average-sized person.
I'm sure you do.
Buster.
Here, and I know he's a friend of yours, and I know you'll see him. And the information that was given to one of my producers, or my primary producer, Mr. McGurk, was that Mr. Costas is not doing radio.
Oh,
and
please.
It's
do us a favor, Mike. Punch him in the knee when you say it.
I mean, I don't know what he's thinking about, but I know his cue is off the charts, but we'll see if we can't rectify that.
As soon as I see him in Atlanta, I'm going to encourage him to undergo rigorous counseling. But I think the guy who's going to have to take the fall here, let's go right for the top guy, the guy who was on the conference call turning it into a yuck fest with you, Andrew Lack, the head of NBC News. How does that guy not have his own talk show, Don?
I'll be talking with Mr. Lack at 10:01 this morning.
Now, is it MSNBC or Imus NBC now?
Mike, thank you very much, and take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you from Atlanta.
Okay, bro.
Mike Lupica here on the Imus Morning program at 16 till the hour. Mike Barnacle, one of the premier columnists in this country, a regular contributor to the NewsHour with Jim Lehrer, and his home paper is the Boston Globe. We'll talk with Mr. Barnacle coming up.
Imus in the morning.
All right, let me talk to you about your transmission. That would be right?
That's it. 3 miles.
Have you ever been stuck in traffic for hours and all you want to do is finish? All you want to do is find the moron who's at fault and say, get your transmission fixed here. Well, he should have known about Lee Miles, the transmission expert. So check this out. When your car is slipping, leaking, or you know how in an automatic car when you're going along and it clunks, when it shifts? Well,
certainly.
Your transmission thing needs to be tightened up. Little Archie Bell thing, tighten up, baby. All you Robert W. Morgan fans listening.
Synchronizers are out.
Yeah. Lee Miles will use state-of-the-art equipment to diagnose and fix your transmission problem. So if your car's not running the way it should be, it's making weird noises, take it over to Lee Miles. They've been around for 40 years. I mean, they'll fix it for you. So they're not going to rip you off. 1-800-LEE-MILES.
It's happening again, Doctor.
This fear of abandonment?
First my husband, then the office, then my whole bowling league. They're gone.
A few days ago, about the same time as
Well, I just think this. I mean, obviously, I don't need some loser from NBC News to appear on this program to, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I'm not happy about it. I understand at all.
Nicholas Burns from the State Department will be calling you as soon as he does this TV gig.
Who?
Nicholas Burns, State Department spokesman.
Okay.
No OJ. 5 minutes or so.
What do you mean no OJ? What are you, nuts?
They're out of orange juice.
It's going to be out of orange juice.
I have no idea. It's 7:30.
It's a breakfast staple.
Absolutely. A day without orange juice is a day without sunshine, may I remind you.
Aviation Week magazine senior editor Tony Velacci.
Tony Velacci sounds like some mobster.
Stop it. Well, he's not a
Tony
mobster.
Velacci.
He's a big safety guy. Knows about the aircraft. Suggests that, there's no way that this could have been any sort of mid-air collision or a flame out, as other people suggested. It's obviously some sort
What's
of...
his name?
Tony Velacci, senior editor, Aviation Week magazine.
What do you think?
It's a very responsible magazine publication, one of the industry leaders.
Put him on.
Okay, I can put him in.
Give me a note so I know who it is I'm talking to. How about grapefruit juice?
Would you like that? They have that. Pink grapefruit
I'm
juice.
going to call my wife, find out what I can have. Right?
The great flavors of Snapple. As far as we're concerned, we're Snapple, spreading good taste all over the place.
This summer, our goal is to spread as much goodwill and great taste as is possible with two guys in a small truck. It won't be easy, but we don't care. We're Snapple, spreading good taste all over the place.
Nothing's as hot this summer as Bell Atlantic 9X Mobile's great deal of 20 to 200
Here we go. Rob's not...
for 3 whole months.
All right.
That's what
Can I get him for like
Sign up on
8:15?
select minute-included price plans.
All right,
now.
ask him in advance.
Your plan comes with 5 minutes, get 40. 40 minutes gets you 80. Up to 200 free minutes. Want more? Get Talk Along Plus for as low as $19.99 monthly access. Save $5 every month. And get the largest local calling area in New York and New Jersey, so you can use your free minutes to call from Cape May to Montauk. And how about a Bell Atlantic 9X mobile beach bag filled with all kinds of great summer stuff? It's free too with a new annual activation. So don't miss our hot summer deal. Call 1-800-255-BELL. That's 1-800-255-BELL or come into any of our 31 Bell Atlantic 9X mobile communication stores. Nothing's as hot this summer. New annual activation required. Early termination fee, 5 cents per minute landline, airtime, other charges, and certain restrictions apply. While supplies last, offer ends August 12th.
All right, time now for the Bell Atlantic 9X Mobile Fan Highway Patrol. And here with that is my little friend Eileen Marchese Cohen. Good morning, Mrs. Cohen.
Good morning, Mr. Imus. And we do have some closures as a result of last night's tragic plane crash. We do have westbound Montauk Highway closed down at Frowen Road in East Moriches, and Atlantic Avenue shut down to south. Airport in Suffolk County is closed except for emergency aircraft involved, of course, in the recovery operation. In the Bronx, avoid the southbound Deegan. It is jammed into the area of Yankee Stadium, but they've cleared that 2-tractor-trailer accident. It's still backed up to the Cross Bronx. 75 degrees and clear, partly sunny, hazy, hot, and humid today. Chance of afternoon thunderstorms, high of 90 degrees. And this report sponsored by Coppola and Associates. I'm Eileen Marchese Cohen for the Bell Atlantic 9X Mobile Fan Highway Patrol.
Hi, I'm Imus in the morning. It is 11 minutes till the hour. Mike Barnacle is a regional editor, contributor to the NewsHour with Jim Lair primarily. He is one of the premier columnists in America writing for the Boston Globe, and he is here with us now. Good morning, Mr. Barnacle.
Good morning, Mr. Imus. You know, on this very disturbing morning, I am reminded of Oklahoma City and the frenzy that we all went through in naming Arab terrorists as the principal suspects in the first 24 hours after that horrific day. And it's just wise, I think, to just step back and consider that this could be an accident or it could be anyone. But I mean, the idea of whipping ourselves into a frenzy over potential terrorism. It is so debilitating. It's incredible.
As I have mentioned a couple of times, I talked with the mayor of New York City a few minutes ago, and he cautioned exactly against that, but did seem to imply, or maybe I just inferred from his implication, that this was something like that. Maybe not a terrorist act, but some nut put a bomb on a plane. But we don't know that.
I heard that, and I think you're right to draw that inference. It's just it is so draining to think that someone would blow up one of our planes in the sky. I mean, it strikes at the very core of our freedom. I mean, in this country, people have tremendous mobility. We value it. We treasure it, and anything that impedes it, it causes such depression among. I haven't bumped into a single person today who is not depressed because of events on the fringes of New York City that affect probably no one they know, and yet they figure it happened to them.
Well, I was watching Brian Williams on, this is not a cheap plug, though it sounds like it, I know, but I was watching Mr. Williams on MSNBC last night, and I fell asleep, which is no reflection on Mr. Williams' performance. I was just dead tired, and Deidre woke me up at 2 o'clock this morning, and he was still on, and she was as shaken as since our wedding night, so, But I mean, it's not.
At least last night there was an explosion.
But God, what a nightmare. Well, do you plan? Are you going to Atlanta or?
No, I was up until about 3 weeks ago, but for reasons having nothing to do with nothing, we decided against it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a depressing day. It is a truly depressing day. And, I've seen temporary morgues before. I've seen hundreds of bodies stacked up. But the thought of, just innocent, carefree people with no thought given whatsoever to the fact that they might be in potential danger going up in that sky and bang, 1 second. It gives you a good read on when you tell God, you want to make some plans for the future. Boy, you just never know.
I forget the first event that we... that occurred like this, in which we were on the radio. It could have been when John Lennon was shot, and it could have been that I remember that I was on the radio and then had to go on the radio that morning and conduct a program.
How do you do that?
Well, you don't do it very well. But and back in those days here in New York when I was on NBC.
You were drunk then.
Yeah, and almost everybody listened to me, and so I was the one who, unlike now, I was the one who had to tell most people that John Lennon had been shot, at least those people listening to the radio. But the point I was going to make is that we have had so many of these incidents, when they shot that Korean airliner down, the Oklahoma City bombing, a number of these other incidents, that we have now reached a point where, as Charles and I and several of us and Bernard were all talking this morning, we now have a routine that we go through when one of these things happens, and that's a statement in itself about the state of our country and this world.
Yeah, we do have disaster routines, but they are different. We have grown immune to the shock of multiple murders in our city streets, but we certainly have not grown immune to the shock of 200 and some odd people being blown out of the sky in what we don't know. We don't know how they were blown out of the sky, but I mean, this is still shocking.
And the mayor of New York City also said, which I find just outrageous, and there's no reason not to believe him, that the callous lack of cooperation that they are apparently getting the families of these people who were killed in this.
There is the common thread in all of these airline disasters. The airlines act as if it's a public relations disaster for them, rather than deal with the multiple casualties of people killed on board one of their planes. No. They come out with their flack first of all, and then deal with the families after it. It's disgraceful.
Mike, thank you very much. Always nice to talk with you.
See you later.
Mike Barnacle from the Boston Globe here on the Imus in the Morning program. But that did occur to me while I was talking to him. Not any great philosophical point to make, but that so many of these things have happened that we have a routine now that we, if it happens when we happen to be on the radio the next morning. So
it's tough.
It is, it's tough for these folks, not tough for us. It's easy for us. I mean, it's just, but God almighty, I'd hate to be out at that airport sitting there.
Oh, I can't.
Not knowing whether somebody who I love was on the plane.
Can't even imagine.
5 till the hour.
Imus in the morning.
And now, like sand through an hourglass, so go the days of Sven and Spencer. Brought to you by Randy South.
Spenska, I'm leaving you.
I'm just updating you as best I can.
Okay,
Trying to
well,
give
that's
you
good.
some
And we got the latest right here. Absolutely.
I'm bless you. So we, well, this is all right. I mean,
sure.
Best we can do, right?
Absolutely, I mean.
So Bob Costas doesn't want to appear like...
What's that all about?
Well,
I mean, what's his reasoning? Just,
you know, Rob Bartlett wrote some material for him for a roast, and he was supposed to pay Rob.
Yeah.
And Rob said, rather than pay me for the material, why don't you just write a check for the Tomorrow's Children's Fund?
Right.
And we'll call it square. Well, he never did that.
Is that right?
I've never burned him on it on the air.
A little surprising, isn't it?
I just want to tell you, set up, since we have a guest at 8:05 and at 8:30, I set up the guy, Mr. Belushi from Aviation Week for 9:05. To do a little safety thing for it. He's covering.
You want to? What do you want to do with Mary? I don't think Mary wants to come on this morning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe we'll reschedule it for tomorrow.
Reschedule it for tomorrow. There's no reason to put her in a position where she has to come on and react to this, and she doesn't know anything more about it than we do. You know, so let's cancel that. I mean, I just don't think it's fair to her. Do you?
Not at all.
No.
I'll let her know. Thank you.
I still have calls into Pataka's office. The FBI is not talking this morning. I'm trying to get Fox on. I doubt it.
Well, he's like, isn't he got a CBS deal or something?
He does. But
well, I don't care about talking to the governor if he wants to come on.
Okay.
I mean, I don't care about it. Okay. He's not going to have anything to offer any more than Giuliani did. Plus, he's not as smart as the mayor. So.
Many more. You'll also find the best selection because the warehouse is right there. The best answers to your questions because the buyers are right there.
The dope.
Best service because the owners are right there. And the
I'm the Howard Stern butt boy.
Paragon want to give you every reason to
Didn't he?
keep shopping.
Well, I don't know if I would characterize him as that.
No, you
For the best in savings and the best in brands. And one of New York's better summer attractions. Paragon. There's only one. And they're at 18th Street.
Yeah, it's right up.
Next to the receptionist.
There's no point in getting into anything else with Chris Dodd, is there? Do you think, or do you?
You pay even after you hang up.
The only other thing would be the drug deal at the White House, but I mean, I don't know if that's appropriate or not.
Bring me up to speed on the drug thing. Being a recovering drug addict, I didn't think it was any big deal.
Well, just that the Secret Service apparently had recommended against issuing security clearance.
This Tony Belushi from Aviation Weekly. He's going to come out at 9:05.
Let's move him up.
I'm moving to 8:30. I was just informed that C-SPAN is going to cut away at 9 o'clock to go to the House of Representatives.
So let's get him on before that.
10-4.
I am Imus in the morning. It's coming up on the top of the hour. Tony Velacci, who is the senior editor of Aviation Week magazine, and Charles McCord, who is a pilot, claims that they are, I don't know anything about them, but
one of the industry leaders in industry publications, certainly.
And as a safety expert, Mr. Velacci is a safety expert and the senior editor, as I mentioned, for them. So we'll get his thoughts. We'll also talk with Chris Dodd coming up. This is WFAN in New York. We are an Infinity broadcasting station. It is time for the local news. We'll get to the national stuff in a minute. The local news is sponsored by the Tri-State Cadillac dealer, and it's always someone, isn't it?
Yes, it is, man.
And somebody just line up to give us some money.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. And here with that stuff is my friend Charles McCord. While I go to the bathroom.
Fine and dandy, man.
Great. Are you going to still sit there, though?
Yeah. Would you like to leave the room if you're going to go to the bathroom?
I have to.
You have that option.
To wee-wee.
That's just fine, man. You need not share clinical details with us.
Okay. Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning, man. And as we were saying earlier, there certainly is a blending of the local news with the national because of this disaster and the tragedy that occurred off our coastlines here in New York last night. Working through the night, searchers have now recovered the bodies of at least 70 of the victims from TWA's Flight 800. The Paris-bound 747 blew up over the Atlantic just miles off New York last night, apparently killing all 229 people aboard. The tail of the aircraft, as we understand it, is now being recovered. An FBI New York City Police terrorist task force running one of the investigations into the explosion. Still no word, of course, on what actually caused the mishap. The National Transportation Safety Board is conducting a separate investigation. Mayor Giuliani on the Imus in the Morning program just a little bit earlier today expressed certainly dismay, if not outrage, at how senior management at TWA, in his estimation, is handling the disaster. He said New York City had to put together a passenger list itself because the airline was not forthcoming with one of its own. Bags of blood have been seen floating in the water off the Hamptons. Reports had it that there was some HIV-tainted blood aboard this aircraft. Suffolk County Executive Robert Gaffney is urging people not to pick up any of the debris and to please just stay out of the area.
We're urging anybody who should find anything out there, or if they're walking along the beach, because we anticipate that some of the debris and possibly some bodies may wash up on the shore. They should contact 911 if you find anything like that along the beach.
In fact, there is a 20-mile restricted zone in the water and in the skies near the crash site, the restricted zone now being expanded even beyond that, as it is being treated, at least at this point, as a crime scene. At least that holds out the possibility, of course, that it was a bomb on board the aircraft, but no one is absolutely speculating about cause at this very early point in the investigation. Governor Pataki among those urging boaters and others to please stay out of the area. Pataki flew in relatively early this morning, was expected on scene around 6:30, and he is discussing assistance being offered the victims' families and all of that. And we will be getting more on this story coming up in just a couple of minutes. It's now 3 minutes past the hour.
It's the end of the automobile model year, so car dealers, even luxury car dealers, are yammering about clearance.
Drop the Pataki, Louis, obviously.
Here's our proposition. Show us anybody else's car with all the features of the 1996 Cadillac DeVille, and we'll buy it. That's right. Show us a car from any other maker with all the features of a 96 DeVille, and it's yours. Consider what's in the DeVille. The widely acclaimed engineering of the North Star system with a 275 horsepower V8, an integrated chassis control system that smooths out any road, fingertip controls on the steering wheel that even control the optional cellular phone, and much more. Your Cadillac Tri-Statesman has generous lease terms, but ultimately, it's not the lease that matters. It's the car you're leasing. The 1996 DeVille. Show us anybody else's car with all its features, and we'll buy it for you. Cadillac, creating a higher standard.
In Atlanta this summer, our athletes will prove their world-class abilities. Here in the greater New York area, a new company's on the rise with the same drive and determination to be number one. USA Waste. USA Waste, the nation's third largest waste company, provides solid waste and recycling services for customers coast to coast. And like our athletes, USA Waste will outperform the competition with their support.
What time is Dodd scheduled?
It's scheduled at 8:05. And the Pelosi guy's okay for 8:30. Mary, I spoke to her. She's, she thinks she made a good decision on that. I love the stuff she said about the family.
At 718-384-5151 and get on the winning team. That's USA Waste. 718-384-5151. 718-384-5151.
I am Imus in the morning. It is 5 minutes past the hour. We are live in New York here across the country on Westwood One Entertainment, which is the outfit that syndicates this, and we are also appearing on C-SPAN 1 this morning. And here now, the General Chairman of the Democratic National Committee, a Democrat senior senator from the state of Connecticut, Christopher Dodd. Good morning, Senator Dodd.
Good morning, Imus.
What do you know about any of this?
Well, nothing. I mean, obviously, no one knows anything at this point. I was listening to the news early this morning, late last night, and I took off out of Kennedy myself last Sunday for a flight to Puerto Rico and back in the same day, and God, how many times have you or others gone out there and that takeoff out of there and happened so fast, apparently? It's just stunning. I don't know what, this is the kind of moments where I envy people who have something eloquent or precise to say. I'm just kind of stunned by it. I don't know if anybody was on the flight at all, but I was listening to Mike Barnacle a minute ago, and this feeling is you think of people going on vacations, families, and jumping to conclusions is obviously the wrong thing. I was listening to some articles, or reading some articles this morning about planes over the years where the conclusions have been drawn right away on what happened. And in most instances, the earliest presumptions turn out to be false. And so I think it is wise for people to hold back here before jumping to conclusions, and particularly jumping to conclusions about terrorists from certain parts of the world. I mean, there's a great sense of offense when we do that, and we've seen in the past where that's been tragically wrong. So I think caution, take some time here, listen to the experts, and hopefully in Congress, resolutions today will just express grief and sorrow and not jump to any political conclusions about what this all means.
One of the things that occurred to me this morning, Senator Dodd, was all of this controversy surrounding the FAA and the safety of these various airplanes, not necessarily the major carriers and stuff. But are you satisfied that that's all being conducted as it should be? I guess
I am, until I know better. I mean, the easy thing to do would be to say no and jump on an agency. I was sitting the other day on that plane waiting to take off. In fact, it took forever because there were the huge storms on Sunday that came through New York, and so we sat on the ground for about 2.5 hours before they let us take off. And just seeing the numbers of planes there, the thousands of people, and that's just one airport, worldwide. It's stunning to me, considering how many thousands of people every hour travel in the world. How remarkably safe it is when you consider other forms of transportation. Now, that doesn't mean that obviously that things can't be improved. So I don't want to also, be a Pollyanna here and paint with a white brush. But I'm not going to jump on an agency until someone can tell me there was something specifically wrong here. So I just taking some time. I mean, I know the tendency is to draw some conclusions, but I'm gonna wait for people who know a lot more about this sort of stuff than I do before I'll start pointing an accusing finger at anybody.
When would you expect, just in the normal course of the way these things work, that we would get some sort of definitive judgment from some government agency about, or whomever, about what happened?
Well, barring some information unrelated to the accident itself, it'll probably be a couple of weeks. At least that's how long I think it took in the value jet. And obviously, there you had the unique circumstances of the site of the crash. This may be not as difficult, so it may be a little bit less time. And then, of course, there's always the possibility you'll get some information from some other source that will claim some responsibility, and then you can start to maybe draw some conclusions that we shouldn't prematurely do today. But I would anticipate a couple of weeks by the time they carefully reassemble and assess. These are remarkable people who, at the National Transportation Safety Board, I've always been very impressed by them. They don't seem to be rattled by people anxious for some quick conclusions. They're very patient. They take their time and really assess things carefully, and don't jump to answers until they feel very confident about the conclusion. But I suspect that's going to take a couple of weeks.
I was talking with Mike Lupica, the sports columnist, before I was talking with Mike Barnacle. Yep. He's covered a number of these Olympics and adhering your advice not to jump to any sorts of kinds of conclusions. But he did make a fairly valid point that there is a potential for this to turn into an incident where some group of nuts is once again holding the Olympics hostage, although it certainly should point out that there's no evidence of that at this point.
No, and it's everyone. I'm sure they'll do the pieces and the setups for the Olympics this week. Then they go back and review Olympics. I mean, you have to be anybody who was over the age of 10, I guess, in 1972, kind of remembers Munich. So at the time, so you're certainly mindful of that, and for people who want to use these opportunities for a way to make some political point, the crazies, they do it. But again, there's been tremendous effort put into this at Atlanta. I know we appropriated funds in Congress from part of the defense budget. The criticism, John McCain, a good friend and your friend you've had on many times, very critical of using defense dollars for these kinds of events and insist that they be paid back. And I agree with him on that. But nonetheless, I think we're wise, probably, given the kind of world we live in today, to maximize the potential for security, and fully knowing at the time you do it that if someone's really, really crazy and determined, there's still a good opportunity and a good possibility they'll be able to, perform their political terrorism if they decide.
We're talking with Senator Christopher Dodd, who is a Democratic, the General Chairman of the Democratic National Committee and Senior Senator from the state of Connecticut. And we originally were going to use this opportunity, this appearance on the Imus in the Morning program across the country on Westwood One and on C-SPAN, to attempt to goad Senator Dodd into making some hideous statement that would ruin his life and career.
Right.
and I do it regularly on my own. I just don't do it on this show.
My goal...
I've got a great record of doing that.
What did you, and this is not a related incident, what did you make of the way this drug thing of course, I'm a recovering drug addict, and so whenever I hear that somebody's done drugs, I never think it's that big a deal, because a person can recover and live a fairly productive life, as I, at least today, have been able to do. But how is that being handled over to White House? They seem sort of frivolous about all of it.
Well, it sounds like they handle it fairly well. I mean, they do the questionnaires. Now, you can lie. I mean, people can go out and just bland-faced lie, I suppose, and then ultimately they may find out news to the contrary, and then you're caught in the lie and you're fired. So if they've admitted that they used most of it, I guess, marijuana, when they were in college or something, then they're required to periodically, someone will test. If you've admitted at any point in your life you've done it, then you're subjected to random testing. I think they're down about 3 people left, and they were all very low-level people, young people, who had come in. If we're going to take I guess what people are saying here, what we're implicitly saying is that, one, lie, because if you lie, if everybody lies, then we'll never have to test anybody. Or two, if you ever used even marijuana, forget about ever applying for a job, because we can't take you on because we don't want to have someone being tested at the White House. So frankly, what's the alternative here? Have people lie or don't test? So again, I appreciate the Republicans trying to make hay on this thing. I mean, they're pretty desperate at this point. You got 15 weeks or so to go before this election, and they're down to, they don't want to talk about the economy or jobs or environment or health care, so we're down to talking about things like this, and frankly, I think the American public will see through it.
Well, what I wonder whenever I hear a story like this is that why these athletes and these entertainment nitwits like me, and I've been very public about my alcoholism and cocaine abuse, which is a couple steps up from marijuana, why a person like me is allowed to sit here every morning and talk to 15 million people and just make a deal with Microsoft and NBC, and there's anybody questioning whether that's a good decision or not, and not to necessarily take your side, Senator Dodd.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to do that.
Well, go ahead, though.
But if we got somebody working in a White House who smoked a couple of joints, I mean, I don't mean to minimize drugs. I don't think it's amusing, and I'm not proud of the experience that I had with it. It was not a productive point in my life, but I mean, it ain't that big a deal in my mind, although there certainly is a stigma attached to it.
No question.
With people across this country, and particularly the gentleman sitting to my right, Charles McCord.
Well, you're right, and that's the point, I guess. So you get the headline. As I say, a lot of these, what it does say to people, young people who are saying, someday I'd love to work at the White House or the Justice Department or the Pentagon is, and one, I mean, you ought to be, obviously, first of all, the first lesson is don't break the law. I mean, that's number one. So that's the message ought to be there. But for those who, in their youth, and God knows, maybe there are a handful of people out there who just at age 14, 15, 16 always did the right thing. But for an awful lot of kids, experimenting as part of growing up, don't ever even think about coming to one of these jobs. And I think that's kind of ludicrous.
Yeah, and it's not, and I don't mean to sound self-serving here, but it's not fair because you can recover and you can live a productive life.
Absolutely.
Well, I had a number of other issues we wanted to address with you, Senator Dodd, but obviously it's not appropriate this morning. But please give me the opportunity to ruin your life.
Absolutely. I mean, they're going to be now 15 weeks to go. It gets really precarious here. I mean, I could blow up this campaign in just a couple of lines on the show, so we don't want to miss that opportunity.
If there's a God in heaven, Senator.
I know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Imus.
Senator Christopher Dodd here on the Imus in the Morning program, General Chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and an I-fave, obviously.
Yeah.
But we will get him. It's a quarter after the hour here on the Imus in the Morning program.
Imus in the morning.
You know, driving a sport utility vehicle can be an adventure, but should adventure mean getting 20 yards?
I love him. I love that man.
I do too.
I mean, he's just a. You know what I like about him? He answers the question, and he doesn't bullshit.
Yeah, he's very genuine. I mean, it's just very obvious. It's a terrific, great guess.
Versatility of the sport utility with the riding comfort and fuel economy of a passenger car. And the Subaru all-wheel driving system gives the Outback.
Speaking of recovering, he's done a pretty good job of that himself.
Sure has.
I don't think he had the kind of problem I had.
Yeah,
but,
Suspension and Subaru all.
but he and Teddy would kind of also deep in there for a while,
Sport utility, and you're truly ready for any adventure.
But he's a good person.
Sport utility wagon.
And I know you hate these Democrats.
Oh no!
I'm just telling you.
No, there are among the Democratic Party a lot of people to be admired and respected, and he is one of them, regardless of politics.
Did you know that most long-distance companies round up every call you make?
I love him.
The Let's Do Lunch call. Talk for 36 seconds.
He's full of shit when it comes to trying to defend that pant load in the White House, but still, I still really like him.
Like John Gotti's lawyer.
That's a great analogy. He is exactly like John Gotti's lawyer.
They're doing a great job for him. Except Gotti's doing life. I don't know.
1 second billing. You talk for 61 seconds, you pay for 61 seconds.
Does that go out when I swear? Or it does? Oh, I'm sorry.
Simple as dialing 811.
Also known as the I don't ever want to think about this phone.
Well, that's the reason that a person should get a formal education, and they don't have to employ that kind of language,
SNET. We go beyond the call. Minimum calling periods and certain restrictions.
Well, I won't do it anymore.
Listen, I never go anywhere without my laptop. It's got my life on it. Customer files, financial stuff, every proposal I've ever written. If it ever got lifted, lost, or dropped, I'd be out of luck. Big time. That's why SureFind, the foolproof, fail-safe online backup and recovery service. It's great. No matter
Is Joel here yet?
Yeah, I saw.
Get him in here. I want to see him.
Yeah.
Send my data to high-tech security vaults where my files are guaranteed to be safe. So if I erase a file on my flight to Phoenix or delete my data in Denmark, I can get it back within minutes. Plus, SureFind's just $9.95 a month. Hey, I spend more than that on coffee. So do yourself a favor. Call 1-800...
Did you ever actually vote for a Democrat? Have you ever voted for a Democrat?
Mm-hmm.
Who have you voted for as a Democrat?
Lou Besser-Cola.
That's that thug. He's that thug mayor.
That's what I said. That's the Democrat for whom I have voted.
But I mean, have you ever voted for a Democrat who you weren't friends with? No. Did you vote for Bill Bradley?
Yes.
You did vote for Bill Bradley?
Yes.
I don't believe it.
Yes, I did.
Swear to God.
I swear to God. That's if I voted for two. Lou Besser-Cola and Bill Bradley. Yeah. Well, you know what I think of.
I got a question.
Apparently, the reason why Brokaw couldn't make it this morning was he's now on the beach on Long Island doing the Today Show. So apparently that's the reason why. It was en route to the Hamptons or whatever it is.
Have you introduce yourself? Warner, you want me to get you one of these hats?
Yeah.
Bad, ain't it?
That's great.
Good morning, I'm Eileen Marchese Cohen for the Bell Atlantic 9X 9X Mobile Fan Highway Patrol. We do have delays now inbound at the George Washington Bridge, 20 minutes into the toll. Avoid the lower deck. We have an accident involving a tractor trailer and 3 cars on the Manhattan side. It is bumper to bumper across the span. You don't even move once you get through the toll plaza. If you must take the George Washington Bridge, by all means stay with the upper level. At the Lincoln and Holland tunnels, they're averaging 20 to 25 minutes. Southbound Bruckner, we have a stalled truck blocking a lane at 130th Street. And south on the Deegan, a slow go into Yankee Stadium due to an earlier accident. Brookhaven Airport in Suffolk County closed except for emergency aircraft because of the TWA recovery operation. So make sure you call your airline. And this report sponsored by Coppola and Associates. It's 76 degrees and sunny, a mix of sun and clouds, hazy, hot, and humid, high around 90 degrees. I'm Eileen Marchese Cohen for the Bell Atlantic 9X Mobile Fan Highway Patrol.
Imus in the morning, 2020 Sports.
This Imus in the Morning Sports Report brought to you by your local Oldsmobile dealer. This is Warner Wolf. Well, apparently the Lakers have broken the bank. The word is the Lakers have offered Shaquille O'Neal $140 million over 7 years, averaging $20 million per year.
Were you waiting for me to introduce you there?
Yeah.
I'm very sorry. I was putting on my cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Idiot.
I just didn't. I dropped the ball, and I apologize.
That's all right, dude. You've been very good to me.
You're my man.
O'Neal and
Come
the Lakers
on,
will...
Warner Wolf.
Hey, you know, I'm worried about one thing on this MSNBC. Suppose they decide to show B-roll over you talking or something like that.
What do you mean?
Well, in other words,
Well, MSNBC is not going to decide to do anything.
No, they can't.
They'll do what I tell them to do, or I'll put gaffer's tape over the...
No, I got it.
I don't care what they do. Here's the thing about the MSNBC thing. I have great respect, as Charles knows, both personally and professionally, for Bob Wright, which is one of the reasons the deal was made, and for Mel Carmazon, who runs Infinity. And if Mr. Carmazon doesn't say that he wants that something's a good idea, then I suddenly don't think it's a good idea, and I'm not patronizing him either. That's just the way it works. I don't do anything unless he says it's... You know what I'm saying? So we made the deal on that basis, but I don't need to be on MSNBC. What are you, nuts?
What are you thinking about?
I mean, I'm sitting here with 15 million people listening at various times listening to this radio program. I don't need to be on a cable network with maybe 100,000 people watching. Who cares?
Nobody.
I think it's a good idea because I think it has great potential. And I think I think NBC News is a first-class organization. I'm not patronizing them either. There's a reason I made the deal. But, I mean, believe me, it doesn't make any difference to me. That's why I don't want to do television. So I'm not going to do television. I'm going to do my radio program, and they're going to take pictures of it. Just like these morons from C-SPAN are doing. So that's all that is, you know.
The Laker deal reportedly went for $117 million, with another $23 million by giving up the rights to Eldon Campbell. Talk about home field advantage. 7 games.
I like that song, His Fool Around Fell in Love, didn't you?
I don't think that's the same person.
Oh, no, that was Elvin Bishop.
Yeah, I believe you're a little confused.
In fact, it was Mickey Thomas actually sang lead on that record.
Put your cowboy hat back on.
Yeah. But you grow some hair.
Sounds stupid. I have plenty of hair, you wrinkled up old Dinkleberry.
I just don't think that's the way to refer to your boss. Do you?
Truth in advertising.
How would you like to get coffee for Rick Dees? Go ahead, Warner.
All 7 home teams won in the American League last night.
I agree. Rick Dees is a jerk.
No, he was referring to you, I meant.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Including the Red Sox, who scored 3 in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs and beat the Yanks 12-11. The Yanks had trailed 9-2.
At least I wouldn't pee in Rick D's coffee.
Oh, come on.
Well, went ahead with 3 in the 7th, 2 in the 8th, and 4 in the 9th. However, Troy O'Leary's 2-run double tied it. Jeff Fry's single won it. After the game, Yankee manager Joe Torre.
We were down, 9-2, and seemingly out of the game, especially with only 3 innings to go, and then all of a sudden, we have life, and we get a 2-run lead, and disappears on us too.
Mm-hmm. Maybe if you stayed out of the tanning salons for a couple of days.
Torrey, by the way, went against baseball's tradition by purposely putting on the winning run with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th.
Come on.
That's right. Giving Reggie Jefferson an intentional walk. The Orioles with 2 in the 9th beat the Jays 11-10, so they trail by 9. Cal, by the way, now 1 for 12 since moving to third base. The hottest team in baseball, the Rockies, made it 8 in a row, took over first place, beating the Giants 4-3. Here's Rockies' Eric Young, who tripled in the winning run.
Yeah, that's a roll, huh? No, we playing well, and we're doing the little things to win. We're not just relying on the big home run or anything like that. We're doing little things. We're getting good pitching. That's a real good sign.
Red Zoner Marge Schott, who earlier was ordered to give up her control of the team, passed out a memo last week telling her employees that despite the ban, she will remain in the front office. As a result, baseball has banned Schott from her Riverfront Stadium offices, her luxury box, and the field. Early first round of the British Open, West Coast of England, Fred Couples 50-1 shot, and Mark McCumber share the lead of finishers 4 under par 67. For Imus in the Morning Sports, this is Warner Wolf.
Thank you very much, Warner. It's coming up in 25 minutes after the hour, and we are here in New York City. Mary Matlin was scheduled to be on the program this morning, and we asked her if she would appear tomorrow morning for the following reason. I didn't want to put her in a position to have to comment on this hideous, horrible tragedy, knowing probably about as much as we do about it. And so she's been gracious enough to agree to appear tomorrow morning.
Very sweet of her.
She's an IFAV, and of course will be a regular part of our MSNBC coverage as well as contributing to this program, as does her husband, James Carville. So I thank her very much. Miss Matlin has her own radio program on the CBS Talk Radio Network every afternoon on stations across the country, number of the stations that we are on. It is 25 after the hour. We're going to talk with Tony Velacci, who is... I mean, when somebody came in and said, but Deidre Coleman, my wife, told me that last night she saw Mr. Velacci and Brian Williams on MSNBC.
Yeah.
And that...
From the Marion Correctional Facility.
Stop it.
Mr. Velacci is not a criminal.
No, he's not.
He is a senior editor for Aviation Week magazine, which, according to McCord, is
one of the premier publications, industry publications available, certainly.
And he's a safety expert. And while they're all of the media obviously covering this thing wall to wall, but at least my own responsibility here, I don't want to in any way, not that anybody cares what happens here necessarily, but fuel the speculation that this is anything other than what it appears to be, and that is that the plane blew up and nobody knows exactly why yet.
Precisely, I mean.
But I thought Mike Barnacle and Christopher Dodd both had good points. Senator Dodd reiterating the point Mr. Barnacle made, and that is the wild speculation that accompanied the bombing of the Oklahoma City federal building in Oklahoma City, when then we found out it was...
In those initial hours,
that it allegedly is these two nuts, or whomever, Timothy McVeigh and that other goofball, who are now in Denver awaiting trial, I guess. Anyway, so we'll talk with Mr. Velacci coming up. It's 27 after the hour, and we are in New York.
Imus in the morning.
Well, have you ever tried a Blimpie sub sandwich? If you haven't, then you be missing a lot. Deirdre and I stopped at one in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and got one of them veggie deals, you know?
Sure.
And she made me get mine on a whole wheat bun. Which will never happen again.
Of course she did.
Because, I mean, I'll eat anything, but I want my Blimpie on that regular bun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So y'all go get a Blimpie, man. They'll tell you, that's a bad boy now.
I start scratching my leg during the night. It wakes me up. It's so itchy.
That's Robert Perot of Orlando, Florida.
I used Cordaid. Now I use Gold Bond Cream.
Gold Bond medicated anti-itch cream.
How about a shower?
That starts to work on contact.
How about some soap?
Clinical studies showed at 10 minutes, Gold Bond Cream provided more effective itch relief than Cordaid.
You're
and
killing
Gold
us.
Bond Cream contains 2 medically proven pain
Come
relief
on!
not found in Cordaid.
Within minutes, Gold Bond Cream relieved my itch, and I went back to
Get out of
Try
here.
Gold Bond medicated anti-itch cream.
Get out! Hey, baby.
You ever drain your lizard?
Now, here we go.
Or drain a lizard? Well, now you can. All you have to do is grab yourself a bottle of one of the great new South Beach beverages and suck one down. South Beach, easy to find at any deli or convenience store. Just look for that big old ugly lizard on the neck of every bottle. It's got real attitude, not like some wimpy can with a cactus on it. Then there's this new Thank Pink lemonade that'll do your thing now deal. As well as 7 other exotic flavors, including Key Large lemon tea, Boca Berry Grape Orange Elixir, and Hurricane. You know, I met with a guy, some guy and his 2 kids put together this company. And the kids he's a stiff, but the 2 kids are terrific. And they've got, and fortunately, he lets the kids come up with the products. And, well, not kids, but they're young people. Well, it's a fun product and good, too. So they got great T-shirts and all that. So y'all get your South Beach beverage and get a lip lock on it. You don't love this thing to death now. There are a lot of things you should do in this lifetime. Leave $1 where I could find it. But one of the things you ought to think about doing is going to Westchester BMW and get behind the wheel of one of them Beamers, that new 1997 BMW 7 Series, because just as the new 7 Series presents an entirely new level of automotive security and safety, Westchester BMW presents an entirely new level of automotive excellence and selection. Right now, you can lease the brand new 1997 BMW 740iL with standard side airbags and all-season traction for only $779 a month for 36 months. You know, my birthday is coming up next week. I'll be 52 years old.
Yep, know that.
Why don't you get me a BMW for
Be
my
happy
birthday?
to, I-Man. Be my pleasure.
You could go to Westchester BMW. Say, give me one for the I-Man.
Sure.
They are a quarter mile off Route 287, exit 4. And go up there and make a deal on a Beamer with them.
They loved it. They completely loved it. I was great. My proposal was a hit. Oh, those long, long hours really paid off. I'm in the mood for roses. Lots of roses. So many roses, I'll have trouble fitting them in the door. After all, who deserves them more than me?
Nothing puts a smile on your face like.
Well, I'm not interested in hearing a bunch of
for yourself or someone you love. Roses are a great value now because they're.
You know what I think is just, I was talking about, that is sick, is that we have got these people out there at that airport, and these bastards are not giving them any information about it. I mean, that's insanity.
Well, I just saw a TWA spokesman.
I'm not a happy person this morning. You sit down here.
Good morning.
Where's your coat? You're out of uniform.
He's done a great job this morning.
Then this nice Radio Shack person came over, and without even calling
This MSNBC deal?
I should call and thank her. On my new phone that I got on
I mean,
sale. It's me, Radio Shack. You've got questions, we've got answers.
I am Imus in the morning. It is 31 minutes past the hour, and we are live in New York City on Westwood One Entertainment and C-SPAN 1. C-SPAN 1 going to the house at 9. Is that what you guys are going to do? Good. Get out now. Well, they've been very good, and and we decided this morning at 5 o'clock that I'm not making any kind of apology because it's self-serving and stupid, but I do feel it's necessary to say that we decided not to conduct a normal program that we would conduct on
any other day
on our radio stations across the country.
Yeah.
And just because it was C-SPAN, and my intention was to perform a program today that would finally say to Brian Lamb, enough is enough. I will never put him on again. He is a disgraceful human being.
Right.
And I also wanted to use it as an opportunity to send a message to my new best friend, Andrew Lack, Rick Kaplan's sound-alike, Andrew Lack. And, yeah. And, but, we obviously were not going to do that because, how would you like to be, because Charles and I were just talking off the air. I mean, how would you like to be a member of, one of these family members that's sitting out there at the airport, and you can't, and you've got this airline, at least according to the mayor of New York City, Rudolph Giuliani, and they're not going to give you any information about who's on that air. I mean, that's crazy. And Mike Barnacle is right that what these airlines do is when something like this happens, these thieving bastards, and I excuse my language, but these thieving bastards treat this as some kind of PR disaster. I mean, that's insanity.
Rather than human disaster. Yeah. Well,
so anyway, so the program is as it is, and I'm not happy, by the way, with. I want you to. Have you?
Why are you not happy?
I'm not. I want you to get on the phone and call Andrew Lack.
Yes.
Are those people coming over here this morning from MSNBC?
11 o'clock meeting.
Well, that's going to be an unpleasant meeting. Mm-hmm. Do you want to be in this meeting?
I think I have to.
Aren't you my boss?
I planned the meeting, didn't I?
Just answer the question.
I think he just snapped at the I-Man. Nearly.
Did you just diss me?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Clearly.
What are you, nuts?
No. 11 o'clock, your office. I set it up.
Well, I mean, I don't need to, get a... what is Brokaw's excuse?
He's out on the beach near the crash. He was en route to the site this morning, yeah.
And he was in Atlanta last night?
Yes, he was.
Oh, okay.
That's
I think all bets have
all
to
right.
be off
Never mind.
today.
That's fine.
Are you dismissing your boss now?
Yeah, get out of the studio. You look nice today, by the way.
Thank you. He asked me to come in here, so,
Well, now I'm asking you to leave.
I'm leaving right now. Turn my
By
microphone
the same
off.
door.
26 till the hour here on the Imus Morning program. Tony Velacci is the senior editor for Aviation Week magazine. And Deidre Coleman, my wife, signed last night with Brian Williams on MSNBC, and he's here now on the Imus Morning program. Good morning, Mr. Velacci.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So I was talking with Senator Chris Dodd and some other people this morning, the mayor of New York City, Rudolph Giuliani, and every one of them, to a person, cautioned me, not to be part of the folks fueling speculation on what happened here. But so having said that, though, and you are a safety expert and a senior editor for Aviation Week magazine, but just as best you can, not feeding into all of that if possible, tell me what you think happened here and what's going on.
Well, let me preface my remarks by saying that we all know that there's no way to determine conclusively right now what actually occurred, but certainly the circumstances surrounding this event point to something other than some kind of mechanical failure. There are 4 points here that I think need to be stressed. Number one, that there was no other aircraft reported in the area when this tragedy occurred. There were no distress signals or no communication from the cockpit at any time prior to the explosion. And I have to be suspicious of the origin of this flight, Athens, where the safety airport safety screening procedures are the most lax of any, certainly among the most lax of any place in the world. I believe that this everything points to some sort of terrorist activity. Well, I guess a nut blowing up an airplane could be categorized. I categorically dismiss suggestions that as many as 3 engines on the 747 could have experienced a flameout. I think that's ridiculous. If I guess those suggestions obviously been made in some quarters. Well, now as you said, there was no word at all from the cockpit. Now, I guess depending on what happened, would the flight recorder? Well, we don't know, do we? I was going to ask you if a flight recorder would reveal anything, but then it's possible that the flight data recorder would record some type of information, technical information to confirm that there was an explosion. So, if this plane originates in Athens at the airport there, where you just said the security is lax, then a bomb could have been, I guess, loaded in the luggage, and that would have never been checked again, regardless of which other airport it went to. I guess is that right? Well, the luggage would have been checked again in New York. What would have? Prior to the boarding of the flight to Paris. X-rayed and stuff? Yes, that is correct. Oh, really? But bear in mind, there's another possibility here, and that's that is the prospect of a suicide bomber. Which is why you're on, because I didn't think of that, or a bunch of other things. Or I guess in some bizarre way, the plane could have been jimmied up. And it was as much as a week, as I recall, before authorities were able to confirm that the downing of the Pan Am Flight 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland, was in fact the result of terrorist activity. I was just going to ask you, in your experience and the way these things are investigated, when you thought that we might, when we could, at the earliest, expect some sort of a preliminary conclusion to be drawn from all this, but I guess we don't know, do we? Assuming that there was some extraordinary event here, such as terrorist activity, and if there is no confirmation from any quarter, if no one stepped forward and took responsibility, it could be several weeks before some kind of preliminary determination was made. Beyond that, conceivably, it could be months before the NT
course, I have noticed that I'm asking you questions that can't be answered, and then in some cases answering them myself, and I apologize for that. But they're at this point, it's I'm sure it's as confusing for you as, or perhaps not as confusing for you as it is for us and people across this country, and essentially just once again striking terror in the hearts of everybody in this country. But nobody's, to your knowledge, I guess, nobody's taken credit for this yet, have they?
No, they have not.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to point out that the Boeing 747 is one of the safest aircraft in the sky. And although this aircraft was manufactured in the early 1970s, the safety record of the 747 stands. And the second point is that a fleet's age does not necessarily equate with safety or a lack thereof.
What do you make of Mayor Giuliani's assertion this morning on this program and perhaps on others that the lack of cooperation from the senior management at TWA with respect to revealing who's on the plane?
I can't. I'm sorry, I can't comment on that. I don't know. In my dealings with airlines following these kind of incidents, following fatal crashes, I have found airline management generally to be pretty sensitive to the surviving relatives. I don't know what Mayor Giuliani's basis was for saying that.
Well, I guess the fact that he couldn't get a hold of anybody from TWA, and then one person who was able to help him went home. So
it very well could be that TWA has chosen to simply deal directly with the families and try to minimize the possibility of this becoming a public spectacle.
Well, there is criticism, of course, in some areas that some of these airlines, perhaps not this one, but tend to treat these things, and even though there's just extraordinary human tragedy, they, in some cases, tend to treat this as a PR disaster, and I'm not suggesting that's the case here at all. But, well, Mr. Velocci, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.
Tony Velocci, senior editor for Aviation Week magazine, and pretty much, if I heard him correctly, ruling out any sort of mechanical failure, although
But this certainly is still a possibility, but it would be unusual, at least based on the history of 747s.
Mechanical failure to the extent that one of these, well, you're a pilot, one of these flameouts would occur on 3 engines or enough so to blow up this airplane.
Yeah. No, that would be highly unlikely.
Okay. Well, I didn't mean to be frivolous with him, but I do.
Oh, no, you weren't.
But I do think that, and the thing that I go back to, and one of the issues that I think is outrageous, I think you people around this country should be outraged about, and that is the way that Federico Pena, that little weasel, and bald-headed stooge from the FAA, what was his name?
Chairman Hinson.
Dave Hinson, or whatever. If you'll remember when the value jet went down, we had these two clowns assuring us that how safe this airline was, and a month later, and they had no idea. They had no idea. They had not conducted any sort of investigation. And so Federico Pena had no idea whether ValueJet was safe or not. Neither did Mr. Henson. And a month later, they took the airline out of service. And so, there is a tendency on the part of some of these bureaucrats and some of these weasels. Well, I don't mean to be frivolous here, but I mean that's what Federico Pena is.
Yeah.
A little weasel.
Weasel should be driving the Holiday Inn bus to the airline.
A lying little weasel, but this almost inherent arrogance on the part of these people. And I'm not just picking on them, but I mean, one of the things you and I don't need is that. I mean, just what's the real deal? That's all we want to know.
That's not the jive deal, the real deal.
So anyway, it's 17 till the hour here on the Imus in the Morning program.
Imus in the morning.
Well, I can't take my eyes off that Cutlass Supreme.
Perfect timing. The lease is $229 a month for 36 months and $19.50 down.
Which my trusty trade-in could cover.
And don't forget the goodies.
Goodies?
Sound like an airline lackey.
Anti-lock brakes, dual airbags.
Hey, hold on.
Hey,
don't you come
can I talk to you with your headphones on, please?
But this is more than a cut this Supreme commercial. It is. Right now, there are great leases on every Oldsmobile.
The heart racing Bravada?
You bet.
The 88 and the Bravada, that neat new sport utility vehicle?
Those two.
Ooh, tell us everything.
Sorry, time's up. For details,
I know. Visit your local Oldsmobile retailer.
this guy is smarter than he looks.
Thanks. Hey.
Supreme lease $229 a month, $24.54 due at signing. Payments total $82.44. Must take from retailer stock by August 4th.
Call 1-800-717-OLDS for details.
Oldsmobile is a proud sponsor of the 1996 U.S. Olympic team.
Does 12% on your money sound good? It should, and it's available for you right now from Curlin Securities. Look into their new and exciting United States Brady Bond program. Currently, a yield to maturity of 12% provides you a return you can really enjoy. With this high yield comes the kind of quality investors appreciate because these bonds are 100% backed by U.S. Treasury securities for full principal value at maturity. Not an agency or a corporation, but directly by the U.S. Treasury. When you look at Curlin's program, you'll find bonds at a deep discount which also offer high income to go along with the U.S. government credit quality and 12% yield. Call Curlin Securities now. 1-800-899-9400 extension 16. That's 1-800-899-9400 extension 16. Minimum investment $9,500. U.S. government securities guarantee full principal only at maturity. Income which is paid by the issuing country is not part of the U.S. backing and can affect overall yield. Curlin Securities, members NASD, SIPC. Call 1-800-899-9400 extension 16.
They're on a mission from Snapple. Some of you have heard how we're crossing the country with a free Snapple offer and wondered, hey, am I eligible to receive a delicious Snapple at no expense? Pencils and paper ready? It's time we go over the rules.
1. If you live in a state that begins with a vowel or a consonant, and or you were born after the Lincoln administration, you're eligible for a cold, delicious Snapple, free of charge.
That's it. These are the rules. We can't just give the stuff away to anyone. Okay, maybe we can't just give the stuff away to anyone.
So if you're anyone, enjoy an ice-cold Snapple on us. We're Snapple.
Spreading good taste all over the place.
Look for the free Snapple truck to get free Snapple for nothing. Or call 1-800-SNAPPLE. Even the call is free. Offer expires September 30th, 1996, or while quantities last. Free sample coupon good for up to $1 off. Limit 1 per household.
I'm here with PC Modem, the computer genius from CompUSA.
Thanks, Bob. Today I have a hot tip for all those folks on the internet.
Don't stay online longer than 48 hours straight.
That's right. And get ready to talk to me and CompUSA on the internet.
CompUSA has a website on the internet?
That's right, Bob. You can take advantage of everything CompUSA offers, like over 5,000 computer products at guaranteed low prices.
Wow.
Plus a hot product section, store locations, trivia questions where you can win weekly prizes, and more.
More. Is that an internet term?
No, that's the theme from Mondo Cane.
All right.
And the CompUSA website also features cool places to visit on the internet. You can link up directly with CompUSA vendors and even an Ask PC Modem area.
What'll happen there?
People will ask me questions.
So if I'm on the internet, how can I find CompUSA?
You'll get the address in just a second. Do you spend much time on the internet?
Oh, yeah, it's really affected my life.
Well, what makes you say that?
I tell my kids now, if you don't interface with those vegetables, I will not let you download your dessert.
Good for you.
You can contact CompUSA Direct by calling 1-800-CompUSA and selecting option number 1 from the menu.
Good morning. I'm Eileen Marchese Cohen for the Bell Atlantic 9X Mobile Fan Highway Patrol. As a result of last night's tragic plane crash, we do have some road closures in Suffolk County, and right now they are asking people to stay away from the whole general area. You'll find Atlantic Avenue closed south of Montauk Highway, and Dune Road is closed each way from the Ponquag Bridge right to the West Hampton Dunes. Also, we have the airport closed in Suffolk County. Brookhaven Airport shut down. It's only being used for emergency aircraft involved in the recovery operation. We do have trouble in New Jersey as well. West on 78 jammed up into exit 45 and Summit. A vehicle's on fire there, and rubbernecking is extensive in both directions. 76 degrees, clear, partly sunny, hazy, hot, and humid. A chance of late-day thunderstorms, a high around 90 degrees. And this report sponsored by Coppola and Associates. I'm Eileen Marchese Cohen for the Bell Atlantic 9X Mobile Fan Highway Patrol.
Here now, headline stories we're following for you in the Imus and Washington Network newsroom.
I'm David Brinkley, the revered host not only of this program, but also of This Week with David Brinkley. Sundays, check your local listings. Joined by our cast of P-Brain regulars, as always, Walter Cronkite, Paul Harvey, John Donald Imus, Rush Limbaugh, and sitting in for Cokie Roberts today, Cal Ripken Jr., in yet another reassignment. Here now, some late news. First, from Washington, uniform and sharp reaction to the announcement this morning by the radio icon Don Imus that his irreverent program, Imus in the Morning, will become a principal component of the new cable television venture, MSNBC. Media observers, pundits, politicians, to a person, expressing varying degrees of bafflement and outrage over how such a decision was reached by two heretofore prestigious mainline corporations to contribute so blatantly to the further erosion of American standards and values. First reaction came early today from the White House, where President Clinton appeared to see the move as a vendetta against him, and double IW microphones were there.
Hey, baby, wanna go out?
Yeah, wait for me in the car, honey. Hey, you're telling me that listening to that son of a bitch wasn't enough? Now I gotta look at him? This is a direct insult to the high office I now occupy, and will occupy another 4 years, based on these here latest poll results, unless Bruce Lindsay gives me up down there in Little Rock, or McDougal may have to give that crazy bastard the old Potomac Park picnic routine, if you know what I'm saying.
Come here, Daddy. You look so good.
Yeah, look at this, baby. Meantime, comment from the man considered President Clinton's certain Republican Party opponent, Bob Dole, regarding what is almost uniformly viewed today as MSNBC's fatally flawed decision. Double IW microphones awakened the former senator on the dais of a GOP fundraiser, where he had fallen into the salad course sound asleep. How's that? Where am I? Oh, yes, of course. Bob Dole knows exactly where he is, what he's doing. Trailing in these polls a little bit, not a problem. Got Imus on my side, a lot of influence there. Bob Dole needs all the help Bob Dole can get. Purely loathsome character, Imus, but Bob Dole needs him. MSNBC putting him on their cable thing there. Bob Dole's going to be calling in a lot, stopping by, sucking up. Bob Dole doesn't care. Got to compromise sometimes. Learned that in Senate.
And the third principal player in the presidential sweepstakes, a frequent guest on the Imus broadcast, Ross Perot, was asked for a response and replied via satellite from his headquarters in Dallas, Texas.
It's just sad, Larry. I cannot for the life of me understand what MSNBC could be thinking about. I've known Imus for several years. Used him, never liked him. Wouldn't want my world-class daughter within 50 feet of him. I'm thinking of the civil suits, Larry. Bill Gates must have a death wish, which suits me just fine, before I parasite anyway.
In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, a frequent target of Imus's barbs, Senator Ted Kennedy telephoned us a short time ago demanding to be heard. Here's a portion of his statement.
Yes, thank you. I feel a particular sense of outrage, as well as dismay and sadness, to be quite candid, over the desperation shown by MSNBC in thinking that titillating a national audience with this purveyor of putrescence is a viable programming option. You are well aware how he has vexed me over the years, playing that hateful sound effect every time I happen to mention anything even remotely connected to water, or tides, or bridges. You bastard. We'll be right back with our little roundtable discussion of all of this. Walter, Paul, Rush, and the rest in a minute.
Hello, this is Senator Joseph Weberman on behalf of Restore Decency in America. I've established a special hotline number for viewers of MSNBC to call to register their complaints over the decision by Microsoft and the National Broadcasting Company to simulcast the Imus in the Morning program. I know you share my sense of unfettered evil having been set loose on the land. All calls will be tabulated and the results directed to the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, Reed Hump. Our lines are available now at 1-900...
Has any decision been made about tomorrow?
Thank you.
NBC thinks it's gotten complaints in the past. They're going to wish they were back dynamite and pick us. What are they planning to simulcast next? The Bob Dole presidential campaign? I am Imus in the Morning. It's 7 minutes till the hour. We're going to leave C-SPAN now. C-SPAN's going to leave us.
Good.
And to go to the House, and we'll see you again on C-SPAN. Mm-hmm. And it could be even tomorrow, but some place down the road.
All righty.
Bon, thank you all very much.
Hopefully on America's Most Wanted.
Hopefully they'll see me on America's Most Wanted?
Yeah.
Precisely.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say America's Most... I meant Unsolved Mysteries. Take 2.
6 till the hour.
Imus in the morning.
All right, let me talk to you about... I have no idea. Lee Miles, have you ever been stuck in traffic for hours and all you want to do is find a moron who's at fault? Well, it is usually some guy whose transmission just broke down. And you should have known about Lee Miles, don't you think? Because they'd be the transmission experts. When your car is slipping, leaking, not running smoothly, it means it's time to take it to Lee Miles. They've been the most trusted name in transmissions for over 40 years. Lee Miles will use state-of-the-art equipment to diagnose and fix your transmission problem. There'll be some grease monkey standing there, scratching his head, or whatever, or looking under your car, figuring, I don't know, making a lot of noise. Tear it apart, let's see. So if your car's not running the way you think it ought to run, and it's making weird noises on you there, y'all take it over to Lee Miles. You can call Lee Miles, 1-800-LEE-MILES, M-Y-L-E-S. Smokey Joe's Cafe now in its second smash year on Broadway. All the same great performers, better than ever. That little bug-eyed dude singing all them coaster songs.
Great.
Smokey Joe's Cafe is a review of about 40 of the great rock and roll songs that Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller, 2 angry old Jews, wrote.
Not happy with each other.
No,
sir.
Or anything else. And here these 2 clowns have got more money than,
Croesus.
And they're so torqued off about everything. It's unbelievable. They wrote all those hits for the Coasters, all that stuff for Elvis. They wrote the I-Man's favorite Elvis song, Don't. Baby, don't.
Yeah.
Baby, please don't say don't.
Fine.
Okay. And they wrote all those hideous Coaster songs and some stuff for Benny King, and all those songs are included in this terrific show directed by Jerry Zaks. It's at the Virginia Theater, and you can get tickets 212-239-6200, Smokey Joe's Cafe. Well, not since the Industrial Revolution has office space changed so dramatically. Permanent walls are becoming a thing of the past. Executives, they all get in their empty suits and they meet in empty rooms, don't they?
Isn't that sad, man?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate
empty
that.
suit in an empty room, baby.
Oh.
Group space is enlarged or reduced to fit the size of the meeting. Who's there? That's on a need-to-know deal.
Man.
Are you in or out of that loop?
Empty ideas for an empty life.
Computer workstations are mobile. In today's workplace, the furniture has to work just as hard as you do. And no one is prepared for the changing world of the workplace more than Dalek. D-A-L-L-E-K. These folks have a showroom in Manhattan at 269 Madison Avenue, or in Westchester. They're on East Main Street in Elmsford. It's high-end stuff, and they can get it to you in most cases in 48 hours. Dalek. D-A-L-L-E-K. They make your office work.
Our topic is extraterrestrial beings. Are we being told everything? New York, you're on the air. Oh, what was that? Today we're talking space invaders. So, Washington, are you a believer? Give us a call. Hey, where is everybody?
This month, everybody's at their Toyota dealer's summer clearance. It's where you'll find some out-of-this-world savings on new Toyotas, like a summer clearance deal.
I don't want that other mic on, so that if you've got Imus and Washington on, you can hear part of that, and then you hear this extraneous noise because it sounds horrible.
36 months, $750 down. But don't wait, these clearance deals have landed now.
I mean, I see them when they do these other stupid radio programs around the country. And, you know, I understand that those programs are just primarily these hideous talk shows and they don't, nothing happening. But I mean, they have to be aware of that.
Can't be beat. Visit one today and take advantage of clearance deals.
The I-Man has been magnanimous enough here to let them do this.
There you go. What you do for me.
I am Imus in the morning, whining to Bernard about
Jesus, please.
Really?
The way C-SPAN has been. Well,
well, just say it once and then drop
Idiot
it.
Jerk.
On and on and on and on and on. Gad.
God, I hate you.
Are they saying horrible things about me?
No, they were not.
Not
they
at
were
all.
Just they were reciting the facts, man. That's all.
Roll the tape back.
No, come on.
Saying how good you look in that cowboy hat. That's all.
Oh, well. Well, thanks to all the folks who appeared on the program this morning to try to bring us up to speed on this. Tom Brokaw left Atlanta last night and flew to Long Island. And Mr. Brokaw is out on the island where this plane crash occurred off Long Island, covering this for NBC News. which is the reason he could not appear this morning, and that's fine. So
sure, he's off the hook.
But thanks to God, dude, he just sound like the most pretentious jerk ever.
Well, that's the way it is, though. What can you do?
So
you're the eye man.
But thanks to Tony Velocci and Mike Lupica and Mike Barnacle and Senator Chris Dodd and the other folks who appeared on the program, and particularly Mayor Rudolph Giuliani.
Sure.
For at least providing us with as much information as is.
Imus in the Morning Show continues for another hour. We leave now